If you're like me, as a spiritual practitioner or a pagan, you collect a lot of different spiritual objects along the way. And I've definitely decluttered over the years now. But what I find often happens is I get busy, life gets in the way, and then a lot of the times things end up staying in a bag for a long period of time. And I can actually feel kind of negative if I do this for very long. And so I kind of take moments like this, like right before I go to a spiritual event, which is what I'm about to do now, is having everything laid out. Like I have this nice blanket out. That's actually one of my past grandmother's blankets. And I lay everything out nicely on it. And I take a moment to reflect and give gratitude to every object and kind of reflect on the story. Because ultimately, what makes something sacred? What gives something prominence? And I think this is a really good question to ask yourself when it comes to, what is sacred to you? What is meaningful? Technically, anything can become sacred. Just like the blanket I just mentioned, this blanket was one of the blankets that my grandmother that passed this year used. And so is it just a normal everyday quilt? Of course, but now it has a deeper meaning because it's tied to my grandmother. And then also cleansing these objects is really big as well. Now this is something that the questioning spiritual person like myself, it's like, why do we cleanse things? Does it actually do anything to smoke cleanse? Does it do anything to, use water cleanse? Maybe, maybe not. But ultimately, every culture in the world has some kind of cleansing mechanism when it comes to their spiritual practice. And so for that alone, I think it's very smart to cleanse. But I think cleansing is also a form of meditation, is taking the moment to cleanse yourself and any sacred objects around you, help get you into a meditative state. If you're just throwing everything into a bag, not thinking about it, not only are you not putting positive intentions behind things, but you're not, letting yourself get into the right headspace before doing something spiritual. Because, right now, I'm a little distracted today, day going before this event. So I really needed this time to get myself into that spiritual mindset. And so taking a moment to kind of sit with everything here, I think is a really beneficial way to get into a meditative state. I think this is also a good time to kind of reflect on things that maybe don't have value anymore as well, and how to, properly get rid of them. Again, like everything has a purpose. Like this bag is the bag that my first set of runes was sent to me from someone that was really important to me. My first rune teacher sent me the runes in this bag. I now use the runes in a different bag. And so I've just been carrying this bag around me forever. And it's just getting dirty, and I'm just like, it doesn't have as much of a purpose anymore. Like I could keep other things in this, but it's getting to the point now where I can reflect on giving this up. And so I might actually have a moment and burn this in a fire this weekend and kind of give it the send-off it needs. It doesn't serve as much as a purpose as it used to. It's getting very dirty, and I'm not treating it with as much respect. So giving it a funeral, so to speak, and saying goodbye to these things. When it comes to like a little bit more of like a woo conversation on things, when it comes to like heavier objects, like haunted, possessed objects, things like that, this is kind of, it's a hard conversation for a skeptic. I am a spiritual skeptic, and that's what makes spirituality so impactful to me, is that I look at everything in a very critical lens. But have you ever been around a place or an object that makes you feel like, woo, that's heavy? And that's the thing, like a lot of it is experience and intuition. And me as a skeptic, I've been around certain objects and I'm like, whoa, this thing has a presence to it. Maybe it needs to be cleansed. And so I think a lot of the times, I need to sit around an object and kind of think, is it pure? Is it not heavy anymore? Is it light? And especially when it comes to like healing instruments, like I do hape ceremonies. And so this is the tepi. And so this is what I use to like blow hape. There was still a little in there. And so I have to really sit with this thing. Like this is going to be an instrument to help heal someone else, or something a little bit more universal, something like a drum. Is this, cleansed? Is it proper before I give it to someone else? And I've sat in a lot of like spiritual spaces where they talk about not being ready, or the facilitator isn't in the right position, or something just doesn't feel right. And so you really need to kind of sit with something. And especially with me being very intuitive when it comes to things such as hape, having a little less of a traditional route with it, I really need to sit with it. Like, am I in the right space to give this medicine to someone this weekend? Am I in the right space to do this? And so I think it can be really a good gauge, because something I don't see enough in the modern pagan and spiritual healing space is people admitting when they're not ready for something, or admitting that it's not the time. I've been getting into spiritual tattooing, and that's something that I'm really starting to practice a little bit more. This weekend I'm going to be doing it. And something I noticed is the last time someone asked me for one, I was thinking about it, I had an idea, but then something within myself said, no, you're not ready for this tattoo. And so I had to be honest with them and say, hey, I know we already talked about it, but I got to take a step back. And that's true with hape as well. Sometimes, giving hape to someone, people say, hey, I want a ceremony, and I have to reflect and say, hey, I'm not ready to do that. And so truly, if you're doing any kind of healing work, whether it's on yourself or someone you care about, or in a larger healing way, you really need to sit with your intentions and sit with your objects and reflect on whether you're in the right headspace to do it, and be honest with yourself and the spirits and the people you're doing it with, that you're not in the right headspace, or you are in the right headspace. And cleansing your spiritual objects, sitting with them, is a really great way to reflect on that. This video I didn't think was going to be like life-changing, but I just really wanted to kind of share with you a little bit of the background scenes. As my life has gotten more into the healing work, into the mysteries as they're called, I'm inclined to not talk about them as much and not share as much as those experiences online, just because, it's one of those things that the more I learn, the more I'm learning that these things don't need to be on camera. And I am trying to find the way to balance when to talk about them. And so I'm building a really beautiful spiritual practice here. I'm really excited to share it with people this weekend. I'm really excited to emerge more into the shamanic and healing spaces here in the US. But it has been very difficult to kind of figure out how to talk about it. And so this is kind of my way to show you a little bit of a window into the world of spiritual healing, into my current practice. And so yeah, a lot of it for me is kind of shedding the busy world all around us and taking a moment to reflect on the beautiful objects I have along my way. I think if I have anything to end this video on, maybe it's a story, because I think that's a lot of paganism and spiritual healing is sharing a story. And so the object I'm inclined to talk about with you today, here we go. This is what we'll talk about today. This is my representation of the Earth Goddess. And this is a great example of normal everyday things, maybe not the most well-made intentionally, can have really heavy meaning. I have a lot of stuff in here that were made by crafters and that have a lot of intention and story behind it, but this I bought from a shop in Glastonbury while I was there. I'm fairly certain it is fairly mass-produced, as many people's idols to the gods are. I mean, I have one that is handcrafted for Odin. I have this that is mass-produced from Sweden and Denmark. It's just a bronze cast. And then this one I think is from Grimfrost, very mass-produced as well. And so a lot of our god idols are mass-produced, very rarely. I mean, usually people have maybe one that's been handcrafted or they spend a lot of money on, or they made themselves, but a lot of people end up using something like this. And so the representation of the Earth Goddess for me was really important, because at the time of my stay in Glastonbury last year, I was connecting to the Earth Goddess to heal a lot of my wounds personally. And so I needed something to represent her that I wanted to carry with me as a reminder. I mean, all my gods were very masculine. So I found this, and so the way I made it sacred is I took this idol with me to the White Springs in Glastonbury, the very sacred place there, which again is actually fairly modern, the current construction of it, but it's very sacred today with lots of people going there for prayer and healing. And so I went with myself to the uppermost level of the sacred spring there, which is the coldest as well as the water comes out of the mountain, and I dove in and had this with me, and I did a really nice meditation with it. And so now this is a really good representation, a reminder of the healing energies of the earth and water, and the Earth Goddess in general. And so that's why it's always with me. The Earth Goddess is a really powerful healer. And yeah, I just really love this idol. I've always loved the image of the pregnant Earth Goddess look. Anyways, yeah, so that's that. So yeah, that's one of the stories of one of the objects that I have with me. And so I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope it's something that you can do, is go through all your spiritual objects and cleanse them, be with them, be grateful for them, and hopefully they're even more effective to you in your life, in your pursuit of healing and connection to the gods, the spirits, and the ancestors that are all around us. But with that, thank you so very much, and I'll see you in the next video here at the Wisdom of Odin.